Good afternoon, everybody. This is my sentence structure follow along color shading sheet. So what I like to use this sheet for is not just as a good example of a body paragraph for an essay that you might write, but to talk to you again about those 4 different sentence structures as well. So let's start with this first sentence, and I'd like you to color along with me and follow along. The first sentence that I have here is a simple sentence. That means that it's just one sentence together at a time. So I'm going to give it the green color. Here you can see how to properly cite in MLA format. Right. I know it's the end of the sentence here because of the period. Now, in order to be an independent sentence, I'm going to shade in dark what we would call the independent clause, the piece that can stand independently. And it has a subject and a verb in it. In this case, we have Alzheimer's disease is. So Alzheimer's disease is what we're talking about, so it's the subject. Is our linking verb. Not very exciting verb, but definitely those are the independent pieces that make sentences in the English language as well. Give it a little bit more color. This one I'm trying to make darker because what's supposed to be in the box is supposed to be darker. Let's talk about compound sentences and joining sentences together. By now, you'd have to be dead if you didn't realize that in order to join 2 independent sentences together, you're going to use a comma and a conjunction. You only use that comma with and. When you have 2 independent pieces, so I underlined on this side and on this side, the independent sentences that stand alone. So let me read you the sentence. It says, in an NIH article by William Stafford, mentioning the author's name, and then it says, it states, my first sentence is, it states Alzheimer's appears in people's 30s to 50s. So that's our first fact, or our first independent statement. Alzheimer's disease appears in people's 30s or 50s, or 40s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. On the other side, we have a separate sentence that's being joined correctly. The second sentence is, almost 90% of people over 65 develop this idea. Develop this disease. Okay. The reason that has a number after it is anytime you put something in your own words, you do have to reference the source. Here we have the author's name that lets us know it's coming from an author by Stafford. All this stuff is in Clarissa's own words, and then it ends with the page number that she used. Complexity is our hardest thing as far as sentence structure goes. So this sentence is going to be complex. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to take a light yellow just to label that sentence as being a complex sentence if we're color coding. Then I want to point out some of its features. The box contains the independent clause. This common statistic shows. A little bit of a better verb, at least it's an action. So it's the statistic, that's our subject, and then shows is the verb. In order to rise to the level of complexity, what you typically have to have is a phrase that has action in it, that has description in it, that upgrades the level of the sentence from simple to complex. So the phrase that I'm going to first shade in the circle, I'm going to do it a little bit darker than the others, is that Alzheimer's is a common, powerful disease. Okay, I'm shading all that in. This dropped to the other line. Now the part that I really want to darken is the part that makes it complex. It's a mini sentence. It's just like a subject and it's a verb and it's in the that phrase. So the phrase that Alzheimer's is a common, powerful disease can't stand by itself. It's a description. It's telling us what the sentence, what the statistic shows. However, it does have a subject and a verb, and that's how you get to that level of complexity that many of you are missing in your writing. The next 2 sentences are simple. So I'm just going to give them a light shading in with green. Simple sentences don't really have anything to do with length. It all has to do with how many independent pieces you have. Here we have Dr. Aloy Alzheimer discovered. That's the part that has the subject and the verb. Now, just like in that no red ink, if we keep driving down the sentence, we don't hit another independent clause. The same is true here because he discovered something else. Dr. Aloy discovered. Okay, and as we continue to make our way through the rest of that sentence, there is no independence in any other part as well. Okay, so those two kind of have a nice little level of simplicity in the middle. The next sentence that we have is the most complex sentence in the English language, which is a compound complex sentence. So the first thing I'm going to do is, as I look at this sentence, I see the word or. It's a comma and or, which is a coordinated conjunction to join two sentences together. I got to make sure that on either side we have two separate ideas. I'm going to go ahead and shade that in. The only ways of telling that you have this disease are the signs of it. Nice independent thought, but here we're joining it in with a comma and an or. Then I have my other sentence. They can look at your brain and tell if you have it. That's how they find out if you have dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Okay, so far we have a compound sentence just like this red one, except that this has a little bit of an extra complex piece, just like up here where we saw complexity. I'm gonna go ahead and darken this, and pardon me, because I'm doing it against the wall, so it's not so nice. I'm making it darker. Please make it darker than the rest of the blue. Right here. And it has a subject and a verb, an action in it. You have passed. It has that subordinate word after. These are the phrases that build complexity in the English language.